referendum that could mark a British revolution. United Kingdom is entering a very bold new era tonight. Now the voters have chosen to leave the European Union.
The move had a ripple effect worldwide, impacting global politics and the global economy. KCAL9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with a look at the fallout from this unprecedented Brexit vote. Dave?
Absolutely, and it may not be the last vote of its kind. There's pressure in some other European countries. In France, they're calling for the Frexit vote. So we'll see, right? The British vote on bowing out of the European Union sent tremors shuddering from Wall Street to Downing Street, taking down a prime minister who just won re-election not too long ago and creating havoc in the financial markets. The fallout from Britain's decision to quit the European Union triggered a political earthquake that reached around the globe, complete with aftershocks that include plunging world financial markets, grave questions about Great Britain's political, financial, and societal future, and most concretely, the political funeral of Prime Minister David Cameron, who's announced he's quitting.
I will do everything I can as Prime Minister to steady the ship over the coming weeks and months. But I do not think it would be right for me to try to be the captain that steers our country to its next destination.
In the end, the numbers tell the story on the British exit vote, with nearly 52% voting to leave the EU and 48% voting to remain in. 46.5 million votes were cast, and the turnout was over 72%, higher than the turnout in any U.S. presidential election since 1900, by the way. The immediate financial impact was clear. The value of the British pound tumbled, the biggest drop in a single day ever, and stock prices followed suit around the world. But the campaign was about more than financial numbers. Much like the presidential race in the U.S., it was about immigration and images of immigrant hordes pouring into Britain as long as it remained in the EU. And for those who stoked those fears, like Nigel Farage, a member of Parliament and Eurosceptic and one of the leaders of the Leave EU campaign, this was a day to celebrate.
June the 23rd needs to become a national bank holiday, and we will call it Independence Day.
But the campaign has left bitter divisions across the country. In London, most of the votes were to remain in the EU. Former Mayor Boris Johnson, another leader of the Leave EU campaign, was roundly booed when he left home. Nonetheless, he's now considered one of the favorites to succeed David Cameron as Prime Minister.
I believe we now have a glorious opportunity. We can pass our laws and set our taxes entirely according to the needs of the UK economy. We can control our own borders.
But not everyone agrees. The vote exposed deep divisions along age, geographic, and economic lines. The older, poorer, and less educated voted out, and the young, better educated wanted to stay in by a large margin. Like 22-year-old Lucy Silver, a student who, when she saw the final numbers, says she felt
a sense of grief. Like, I woke up this morning and I didn't want to believe it. Like, it felt like waking up into a nightmare, and I was suddenly living in a country that I feel quite uncomfortable about.
We're all very sad about the opportunities that we may have had to live and work abroad that may not be available to us.
European leaders acknowledge the departure of Great Britain from the EU will have an impact far beyond the borders of the United Kingdom.
Today is a cut for Europe. It is a cut as regards the European unity.
Here in California, President Obama spoke about the vote in a speech to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit at Stanford University.
I do think that yesterday's vote speaks to the ongoing changes and challenges that are raised by globalization. But while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations. That will endure.
Now, Britain's exit from the EU leaves 27 member nations still on board, and the British departure process is expected to be prolonged, to say the least. Experts say it could take up to 2 years to complete the legal and financial separation of the UK from the EU. So it'll take a while for us to really figure out exactly what the fallout from this will be.
Dave, do you think this movement is confined to Great Britain, or are we seeing this spreading out to other European countries, or maybe to countries, outside of
I think it's certainly spread. I think this is a global phenomenon right now. Even here in the U.S., a lot of the same issues are being talked about. Anti-immigrant and in some cases anti-European Union sentiments seem to be spreading across Europe, due in large part to anger and frustration over the huge number of Syrian refugees that have been taken in for humanitarian reasons. In France, one of the cornerstones of the European Union, there's a growing political movement fueled by anger over the refugees, demanding a similar exit vote. In fact, a new poll in France shows 55% of French citizens now favor such a vote. And Time reports today that in Germany, a far right-wing party could win seats in the Bundestag next year for the first time since World War II if current poll numbers hold up, due largely to immigration issues, the same kind of immigration issues that we're talking about here in the U.S. and people were talking about in Britain, Jeff.
Okay, Dave, thank you.